Hello, happy Champions League qualifying day. It's time to go over the Champions League qualifying results so you can figure out what underdog you want to root for by the time we get to the Champions League stage. You're welcome. The first match, actually, very interesting match. Not for any of the things that happened on the field because, well, it ended up being 0-0. And there was a grand total of 0.69. Nice. XG in this match, so wasn't particularly exciting. But I did flag something that this was courtesy of the European Football Express, but having been to Copenhagen and Malmo, I can also attest to this. The smallest travel distance in a Champions League match, like, ever. They officially said the shortest away game in another country in UCL qualifying history. For those that don't know, essentially in the eastern part of Denmark and the southwestern part of Sweden, there is like a passage to get out to the greater sea, right? And on one side of that passage is Copenhagen. On another side of that passage is Malmo, right? And they are 52 minutes away by car. You literally just bridge and you're in Copenhagen. Right? It feels like they should be farther apart because they're in different countries, but one country's on one side of this little strait and one country's on the other, and there happens to be a big city on both of those sides, and those big cities happen to be playing against each other in the Champions League. So while you end up with these away days like an island in the Atlantic against a team from Kazakhstan, this is the exact opposite. This is a day trip. Right? There are people in the United States that drive a shorter distance to work there and back every single day than Copenhagen and Malmo have to drive in order to actually get to a Champions League away game, which is hilarious. I love that. Congratulations to them. Hopefully the second leg is more exciting when they drive on to Copenhagen because this one was played in Sweden. Again, not that it actually really matters that much where these guys are playing because I think they're just going to be able to figure it out at that point. All this time I'm trying to make sure it was in Sweden, and it was. Good for me. So we're waiting on the second leg for Malmo and Copenhagen. Copenhagen definitely would be the team that would be hoping to get through, right? They've got the stronger, more recent history in the Champions League, but they lost out on that one. The resurgence and the rise of the Cypriot League continues. Paphos picked up a 1-0 win on the road against Dynamo Kiev. Obviously, Dynamo Kiev has been playing largely without a home since 2022. They are, along with basically every team in Ukraine, they can't play their European matches at home, right? So they have to go find somewhere else outside of Ukraine to play. I believe that is still the case. Yeah, they played in Poland. So this match played in Poland, but Paphos put together a very good performance. I believe it was in the Conference League last year. They are a dangerous, kind of good European team. And they are, look, the Cypriot League is a league that gets absolutely zero attention, and yet has managed over the past 15 or so years to put teams pretty consistently into European group stage and league stage at some point, and they seem to be getting better. Paphos, I believe, has a wealthy benefactor. Somebody's mentioned that to me on stream before. But a win on the road against Dynamo Kiev. They're now going to come home with an opportunity to actually send themselves to what would be the final round of Champions League qualifying. That's what we're playing with a chance to get to. Okay, if you win this round, you go to the final round of qualifying, and then if you win that, obviously, you're in the Champions League stage. Shkindia, the surprise package of the previous round. They knocked off the Romanian champions FCSB, a North Macedonian team. I don't think they've ever been to the Champions League stage. I'm 99% sure of that. Karabakh, on the other hand, is Azerbaijan's team. They're basically the Azerbaijani national team. There is no other team from Azerbaijan that really takes a run at Europe, but Karabakh, they are good. Definitely better than Shkindia, and they picked up a 1-0 win thanks to an 18th minute penalty converted in the first half. But this was not a blowout. I'll give a lot of credit to Shkindia. I would have expected Karabakh to be way better than them. They were only kind of better than them. Bit of an advantage in possession and shots and that sort of thing. But Shkindia is still alive. They're going to have to go to Azerbaijan, which is a tough away day for anybody in European qualifying, right? It's a tough trip. But they have left themselves with an opportunity. And if they, like I said in the last match, if they win this, they get to the final round of Champions League qualifying, and then you can really start to dream, especially considering that because they're in, champion qualifying, they're not going to have to play against all the best place teams that can get really dangerous. Then there's Rangers and Victoria Pilsen. Victoria Pilsen, very solid European team. They've been in European knockouts each of the last 2 years. This is not a team you want to mess around with. They're very, very good defensively as well, but they went to the Ibrox and got run. This is a great result for Rangers. I know Rangers for a lot of people is a more recognizable brand name, but Victoria Pilsen over the last 2 years in Europe, I think has actually been better than Rangers in terms of how far they've managed to get. I'm talking rounds of 16s, quarterfinals, and the lower European competitions. They obviously would love to get to the Champions League stage as part of that, but Rangers has dismissed them. 2 goals in the first half. We got another one in the 51st minute, and statistically speaking, they didn't deserve it. Victoria Pilsen actually put together 17 shots, but they only hit the target twice. We're not getting XG numbers from this game, so it is what it is. But Rangers took advantage of being at home here. They needed to, and they did. And one thing that has been true for Victoria Pilsen in their European runs the last couple of years, they are not a high-flying, high-scoring team. They are organized, they are disciplined, and they don't give up 3 goals. But like, this is just not the type of match Victoria Pilsen could play, needed to play, and now they're going to be... I don't see a way back for Victoria Pilsen in this tie. Just the way that they've played over the last couple of years, it's going to be very difficult. They're going to need Rangers to super not show up. But that brings us to Wednesday, which is where we got into the heart of the matches. And maybe my favorite story so far, Kairat Almaty of Kazakhstan beating Slovan Bratislava 1-0. They did it on a penalty from this guy, Setpayev. And I'm going to make you feel super old. This guy was born in 2008. Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, he was born in 2008. Let me see if I can find the penalty. This is the goal. Slovan Bratislava on a red card. The Kazakh side at home. They're going nuts. And that's a beautiful penalty from a 16-year-old. But you're telling me that you've got a 16-year-old taking the most important penalty in your club's history in a Champions League qualifying semifinal? Really? That's insane. This kid's got to be crazy. I don't even know. I mean, Slovan Bratislava isn't like the ultimate hurdle here. If you look at the actual bracket, where they would have to go after this is the real problem. Because this is apparently part of, I don't even know. I think it's still part of the champions side of the bracket, but Celtic is waiting for the winner of Kairat Almaty and Slovan Bratislava, which means whoever wins this tie is going to be a huge underdog against Celtic in the next round. But if you make it to the final round of qualifying in the Champions League, that guarantees a Europa League spot, as opposed to being guaranteed a Conference League spot, which the losers in this round will be in the Conference League phase. That doesn't really roll off the tongue, but I think you get what I'm saying. So they're playing for a lot more exposure, a lot more money, obviously trying to advance as far as you can in qualifying is always a good thing. But that was a huge moment. This 16-year-old Setpayev, Kazakhstan on the rise, very nice. Then we get into some of the best place matches. I think there's two more champion bracket matches. We can talk about those quickly. Ludogorets and Ferencváros with a 0-0. That means they're taking the very short trip to Hungary for the second leg. Not as short as Copenhagen and Malmo, but it's all going to be to play for. There was some to separate, though. Ferencváros is going to feel like they should have won this game. 1.78 XG. No goals. Sucks to suck. Both of those teams expect to be in European group stages every year. And then there's Lech Poznan and Crvena Zvezda, Red Star. Beautiful. Red Star, they're honestly outside of, I would say, the top 7 leagues. I'm going to throw maybe the top 8 leagues. We want to throw Turkey in with the Netherlands and Portugal, right? They're one of the best teams outside of that realm, and Lech Poznan will feel a little unlucky that they ended up in this draw having to play against Red Star. But if you can clean out a 3-1 win on the road, you're now coming home with a 2-goal advantage. Red Star, outside of Rangers, is going to be the team that's feeling the best going into the next part of Champions League qualifying. But now for some of the heavier hitters. Club Brugge against Salzburg. Salzburg, of course, a team that used to be dominant in Austria. They've fallen off. They were a team that they didn't look fully out of place in a Champions League knockout. And that was only a couple of years ago when Brendan Aronson was on the team and stuff. But Club Brugge, they were a really dangerous Champions League team last year. And they've apparently kept that going, picking up the win at Salzburg on the road in the mountains in Austria in order to bring the lead back to Belgium. And Club Brugge, I would say, based off performances the last couple of years would be disappointed if they didn't get through that. The match that maybe everybody had circled for this round, Benfica and Nice. Benfica won 2-0 in France, a great showing for the Portuguese league for Benfica, a club that even though they haven't necessarily been able to grab the Portuguese title recently, they are still able to hang with the big dogs in Europe and compete with the French team that has to go through qualifying. Because if you're the fifth best league in the coefficient, you send your fourth team to qualifying. Now, France is looking at the real possibility of only getting 3 teams into the Champions League stage instead of 4, which is kind of an egg on your face moment for obviously a league that wants to be lumped in with that top 5. That's really difficult for them. And then there's Feyenoord and Fenerbahce. This is a showdown. Fenerbahce obviously has got Jose Mourinho. He knows how to, if anybody does, he knows how to go and win in tournament situations. But Feyenoord was part of the host of Dutch teams that managed to put in a very impressive European performance the last European cycle. And so this very difficult draw for Fenerbahce, but it's Champions League. It's not going to be easy. And there was a lot of drama late. Sufyan Amrabat scored in the 86th minute here, and then was outdone by Haj Musa in the 91st for Feyenoord. So Feyenoord did win, but they were at home. So you take that 1-goal advantage, and now you've got to go to Turkey. Fenerbahce, famously, ridiculously hard place to play. Do not count them out in being able to knock out Feyenoord. But I do know that both of these teams, whoever loses, they are going to be incredibly disappointed that they are not going to the Champions League. Now, we can size up the bracket. There are a few teams that are still waiting. Rangers and Club Brugge right now are on a collision course in the next round. It would be the winner of Feyenoord and Fenerbahce against the winner of Nice and Benfica. A lot of fun. Basel's waiting for the winner of Malmo and Copenhagen, so the Swiss side still waiting for teams to come through. And Bodo Glimt and Sturm Graz, the Austrian champions and the Norwegian champions, are waiting for each other in the qualification final. They both got a pass to that final, but then they drew each other from the way they set up the draw. You can draw anybody there, and they drew each other. So congratulations to them. You can't draw anybody there, but somebody's unseated, somebody's seated, and it just happened to be the team that got a bye. And so Bodo Glimt and Sturm Graz are just waiting for what is going to be a home and away for a spot in the Champions League stage, which that's plenty of drama. We'll keep you updated. I'm pretty sure I'm going to do another one of these on Europa League and Conference League, find a few fun things to talk about. So stay tuned.